Okay, here we are in question 31. Okay, so the keywords that we're looking for here are, get a highlighter out, symmetric with respect to the origin. There's my origin right there. So symmetric to it means I'm going to flip over the origin. So if I flip over the origin, that's what I'm going to look like. Number 32. Right now, I can see staring me right in the face is this equation right here. So I'm going to pull that equation out. And before I even read the problem, through my head, I should understand that this is a parabola, and it's a parabola that opens concave down. So I know my parabola looks like this. So now what do they want me to do with the parabola? W represents the number of workers this person hires, and what is the number of workers she should hire in order to earn her greatest profit? Well, her greatest profit is right up here. That's her maximum. And that maximum is the turning point. And we remember the turning point is x equals negative b over 2a. So when I look up here, the b value is 160. The a value is negative 4. And then we just do our math, and we see that it's 20. Another way to have done this would have been to factor and find the roots. If I factored and found the roots, it would be pull out 4w, come up with w minus 40, set them equal to 0, and find my roots are 0 and 40. And what number is absolutely in the middle of 0 and 40? 20, which would be my maximum. Simplify. Okay, this is a classic one. I notice I have two parts here. I have my numerator. My numerator is x over 3 minus 3 over x. So I have to combine those. I have to find a common denominator. My common denominator is 3x x squared, 9, and a minus. Now I have to look at the denominator, and they gave me x minus 3 over x, which is already combined. Alright, I have a little problem here, it's not writing. Okay, let's see if this thing will write now. So I have x minus 3 over x. When I'm dividing, I know that I have to multiply and flip. So I'm going to change this to multiplication. I'm going to flip. And now I can cancel. X squared minus 9 factors down into x minus 3, x plus 3. So the x minus 3 and the x minus 3 cancel. This x and this x cancel. I'm left with x plus 3 up top and a 3 on the bottom. Alright, before I even read the problem, I'm looking at this picture, and the first thing I realize is that these two sides are the same, so that means these two base angles have to be the same. And then I know that in a triangle there's 180 degrees, so 50, 50, this has to be 80. Now I'm going to go and read and see what this problem's all about. In the accompanying diagram, we got a roof, it's the shape of isosceles triangle, base angle of 50, each side is 20.4, determined to the nearest tenth of a square foot. The area of this triangle. Okay, so area equals 1/2 side, side, sine of included angle. So 1/2 20.4 times 20.4 times the sine of 80. Because 80 is the included angle of these two sides. Now I just have to get out my calculator, and I just have to enter it in. 0.5 times 20.4, and I'm going to square that, because there's two of them, times the sine of 80. Area equals 204.9187, and since it said round to the nearest tenth, that's a 1, so that's going to stay a 9. So there's my answer. The weights of a box of animal crackers coming off an assembly line differ slightly from a normal distribution. As soon as I see the word normal distribution, I know I'm doing a bell curve. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to start drawing a bell curve. I know my bell curve has a middle right here, and that's my average. So the mean is 9.8. Okay, so I'm going to put 9.8 right there. Standard deviation is 0.6. So I'm going to go one standard deviation above, add 0.6 onto that, and I get 10.4. Add 0.6 onto that, I get 11. Add 0.6 onto that, I get 11.6. I know that my percentages in here, 34%, 13.5%, 2%, and 0.5%. And I know they're mimicked on the other side. So I have to go equal distance on the other side. 1 below, subtract 0.6. 2 below, subtract another 0.6. 3 below, subtract another 0.6. And then likewise, those are the same numbers. Alright, so now that I have my bell curve done, what do they want me to do? Determine the number of boxes of animal crackers in a shipment of 5,000 that are expected to weigh more than 11 ounces. Well, more than 11 ounces would be everybody from here up. And what percentage weigh more than 11 ounces? 2.5%. So 2.5% of my 5,000 boxes. Okay, that's just math. 0.025. Come on, guys. Remember, we got to turn this into a decimal to work with it on a calculator. Times 5,000 gets me 125. Okay, the accompanied diagram. Oh, a table. A table, table, table. Yay! Calculator, calculator work. So I'm going to go right here into Stat. I'm going to go into Edit. I'm going to clear out my lists. There we go. And I know it's going to be on my calculator, so I'm just going to type them in right now. So over here, this should be negative 20, negative 10, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. And this should be 1, 2, 5, 9, 1, 2, 5, 9, 17, 29, and 50. Great, so what do they want me to do with these numbers? They want me to do an exponential regression, and where do they want me to round to? To the nearest thousandth. Okay, that's easy enough. Go into Stat, go into Calculate, choose an exponential regression, Now my calculator is a little different than yours. List 1, comma, list 2, and there's my exponential regression. So y equals 4.194 times 1.068 to the x. Using this equation, predict the amount of water vapor that will saturate 1 cubic centimeter of air at a temperature of 50. So if I look here, temperature is my x. So all they want me to do is put 50 in for this x. Y is 4.194, 1.068 raised to the 50th power. Now it's calculator work. 4.194 times 1.068 raised to the 50th. And where do they want me to round this answer to? They want me to round this answer to the nearest tenth. So y is 112.5. Okay. Obviously, when I copied this over, I lost the equation. Well, the equation is that's the equation. Okay, so they want me to put in the speed of sound being 320, and v is the speed of sound. So in for v, I'm going to put 320. Equals 20 radical c plus 273. So now I have to solve for c. 20 is connected by multiplication, so I'm going to divide by 20. 16 equals radical c plus 273. I get rid of a radical by squaring it. When I square this, a radical and a square cancel out, so I'm left with c plus 273. 16 squared, 256. Not bad, 256. Just minus the 273. We find out that c is negative 17 degrees. Okay, this is a tough one. We have an equation here. The first thing we should notice about this equation is there are two different functions in it, cosine and sine. Alright, so since I have two different trig functions, I have to make them the same. So I either have to make them both sine or both cosine. So when I go on to my Bible and I find a double angle, I realize that I can change cosine of a double angle into 1 minus 2 sine squared theta. Great, now everybody is sine. Now I'll do algebra. 3 minus 6 sine squared theta plus 2 sine theta plus 1 equals 0. Line everybody up because I see it's a square. That means I'm going to have to factor. Minus 6 sine squared theta plus 2 sine theta plus 4 equals 0. I'm going to factor out a negative 2. Gives me 3 sine squared theta minus sine theta minus 2 equals 0. Now I have to factor this. The negative 2 is just dead weight. Nothing happens with it. This is 3 sine theta sine theta. Now, two things that multiply to 2, 2 and 1. And this is going to be the negative, and this is going to be the positive. Now I'm going to set each one of these factors equal to 0. Sine theta minus 1 equals 0. Sine theta equals 1. 3 sine theta plus 2 equals 0. 3 sine theta equals negative 2. Sine theta equals negative 2/3. Well, that's great, but my problem was find theta. So I'm not done here. I have to inverse sine here to figure out what theta is. So I bring up my calculator. Inverse sine 1, 90. So theta is 90 here. Inverse sine negative 2 divided by 3. And I get negative 41.81. But that's not my answer because two reasons. One, we know we always get a reference angle back. And my answers have to be between positive 360 and 0. So off to all students take calculus. Where is theta of sine negative? Here and here. So I put my reference angle of 41.81 in both of these, and I figure out my angle. How far of an arc did I just make there? I went 180 plus 41.81. So theta is 180 plus 41.81. So that gives me 221.81. But I still have one more. How far is this red arc? 180. Boom. I'm short 41.80 degrees from 360. So my other answer is 360 minus 41.81. And because I'm lazy, 360 minus 41.81 gets me 318.19. The probability of rain on the last day of July is 90%. So rain equals 0.9. The probability remains constant for the first 7 days of August. What is the probability that it will rain at least 6 of those 7 days? So I know I have 7C6. That's the least. So I have to do 7C7. Whap, 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 whap. Okay, so rain is 0.9. Obviously, this is then 0.1 because it has to add up to 100%. I want it to rain 6 times. I want it to rain 7 times. So I don't want it to rain once here, and I don't want it to not rain at all there. Now the rest is just figuring it out on a calculator. 7C6 is 7. 0.1 to the first is 0.1. 0.9 to the sixth is 0.5314. Multiply that by 0.1. Multiply that by 7. So this is 0.3720. Okay, we'll do the next one. We'll do it all at once on the calculator. 7 C7 times 0.1 to the 0 times 0.9 to the 7th. And that comes out to 0.4783. And now I have to add them together. And I get 0.8503. You can write 85% because it didn't tell you where to round. Any of those answers are correct. Okay, a radio wave has an amplitude of 3, a wavelength of pi, that means a period of pi, and we want to draw a sine curve. Well, I know a sine wave is a hill followed by a valley. All right, so let's get a grid going here. Actually, it'd be easier to do this. I know there's supposed to be arrowheads on both ends, but go with me. Okay, now we're going to do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's pi over 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 is pi. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 pi over 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 pi. This is my x. This is my y. Okay. Amplitude of 3 means I have to go 3 high. Well, let's do 1, 2, 3, and then I have to go 3 low. 1, 2, 3. This means a period of pi. That means I got to fit one sine wave in pi. So I know I have to fit one sine wave right here and here. Well, that's pretty easy. I need a hill. And the peak of my hill has to be at 3. So halfway, whoops. So halfway between 0 and pi, that's my halfway mark. So my hill has to go between these two dots. Then a sine wave is a valley. So halfway between and the end, I've got to have my valley. And there's my sine wave. And since I have to go up to 2 pi, we just do another one. And that's it. Oh, logs, logs. Every time you see a log, roll them. Okay, so first I'm going to combine these two logs right here because these bases are the same. All right, so subtraction means it must have been a division problem. So I have log 3 x squared minus 4 over x plus 2 equals 2. Okay, this is where the rolling comes in. 3 to the second gets me that. 3 to the second gets me x squared minus 4 over x plus 2. Okay? 3 squared is 9. X plus 2, x minus 2 is what x squared minus 4. You can cancel those out. 9 equals x minus 2. So x must equal 11. I'll check to make sure that that can work. 11 squared is 121 minus 4. That gets me a positive number. Good. 11 plus 2 gets me 13. Good. So this is my acceptable answer. And my last one, forces. They're pushing a box. This guy pushes with a force of 50, and this guy pushes with a force of 39. We have a resultant. A resultant is down the middle. Alright, so when we do this, we're going to label it now. We got one guy doing 50, another guy doing 39. The resultant forms an angle of 32 with the 39 pound force. So here's my resultant, here's my 39, so this is 32. So now I have to create a triangle. And most kids want to create a triangle this way. But you can't. You see what happens? You cut off part of the resultant. You can't do that. So you have to create a triangle here. By extending your triangle to the tip of your resultant. Now what happens there is you've created parallel lines. So if this is 39, this is 39. And since this red line and this black line are parallel, this must be 32. And here's your triangle that you're going to work with. So we don't need this anymore. So we want to find the angle between the 50-pound force and the 39-pound force. Okay, so we want to find that angle right there. It's the nearest tenth of a degree. Well, 39 is to the sine of x, as 50 is to the sine of 32. Let's turn this on. Let's do some math here. 39 sine 32 divided by 50. So this tells me the sine of x is 0.41333. I'm going to inverse sine that, and I get 24.4. But guess what? That wasn't the angle we were looking for. We found this angle right here. How do I find this one? Well, that's right, just subtract it from 180. 180 minus 24.4 minus 32 gets me 123.6. Now technically, we wanted this angle right here because that was the angle they talked about. So this is 56.4. Now how do we find this resultant right here? We just do law of sines again. X, the resultant, is to the sine of 123.6 as, and then you can pick whatever you want. 50 is to the sine of 32. And just whip out the calculator and do the math. 50 sine 123.6 divided by the sine of 32. So that resultant was 78.5, and I believe they say to the nearest pound, so that was 79.